Okay, I hope everybody can see me and hear me. It says very bad connection on my phone, but it shouldn't be because I've just turned off my YouTube upload which was going on. So hopefully it's already better. If anybody's out there, I can't see if anybody's there, I assume there isn't, but if anybody is out there, tell me if it's good or bad or whatever. Okay, so today we're doing vocabulary, we're doing education vocabulary. I have a feelings video which is coming out in a day or two on YouTube, so stay tuned and you'll see a video on the vocabulary of feelings in the next few days. And that's a half-an-hour video, so that's a lot of vocabulary, a lot more than what I've got for you today. Now, it's 10 minutes before I start a lesson with Alex, who is in Oregon at the moment, so I'm going to have to work fast. Unfortunately, there were some problems, and technical problems, let's say. There are always technical problems if you're making lots of videos on YouTube, so please bear with me. I do my best. I do this all on my own. I have my own lights and I have my own microphone and think, well, actually no, I don't, it's in the phone today, but I try lots of different ways to try to make these videos and they come out the way they do. Anyway, education. So another word for your fellow students is your peers. Peers actually means the people in the same age group as you. So they're people roughly the same age as you. Obviously your fellow students are your peers, but you might call them your friends or your mates. And so you could also call your circle of friends your peer group. That means the group of friends who you know and who you hang around with. They are your peer group. It collocates very well with pressure, peer pressure. If you're under the influence of peer pressure, you're under the influence of your friends. It means your friends can put pressure on you, and it's quite negative because it means that you're a highly impressionable character. It means that if your friends all start smoking, then you start smoking. And of course, peer pressure is responsible for a lot of people who start smoking. I think it's absolutely true. Okay, we've got some adjectives now. Compulsory or mandatory are the same. They both mean that you must do something. So in England, maths and English are compulsory subjects. They're mandatory. Everybody has to do them. Nobody can just choose not to do them. Optional subjects are the opposite. They're things which you can choose, which you have the option to study or not. So arts subjects are usually optional. Languages sometimes are optional. Foreign languages, I mean. In England they're quite often optional, although they're bringing them back in now. I think a lot of schools are trying to encourage children to learn foreign languages. But optional subjects, you can choose them. Compulsory subjects are subjects you have to do. The curriculum is the course which you follow, the programme of study which you follow, the course outline, or also we call it the syllabus. Whatever you're studying in that course is your syllabus. So I'm doing some lessons at the moment for different teachers, English teachers, and the syllabus is basically punctuation. Most of it is concerning clauses, commas, semicolons, colons, hyphens, apostrophes, those kind of things. Now, discipline is a good word for the school. The teacher ought to impose some discipline, or at least maintain some kind of discipline in the classroom. And if there is a lack of discipline, that means the class is out of control and people are shouting out whenever they want to. Perhaps they're throwing stuff around the room as well. It's chaos. It's not good for a lesson. If you are a teacher, you'll have to evaluate written work or assess written work. You could say check written work, but that's not quite as formal as assess. I think assess is the most common, although I have seen evaluate a few times as well. But these are much more formal versions and options than check written work. Now I'm going to have to speed up because Alex is coming, he's going to be wanting a lesson very soon. If you revise a subject, you bone up on a subject, or you brush up on a subject, or you swat up on a subject. There's 3 good phrasal verbs which mean revise. If you're a teacher, you need to correct mistakes. You need to rectify mistakes. Rectify means correct mistakes. These are synonyms. If you're a student, if you're 18, you might decide to enrol on a course, or you might decide to enrol at a university, whichever university you like. But please pay attention to the prepositions. Enroll on a course, but enroll at a university. And if you don't do well at university, you may drop out, which means that you're not doing the work, or the work you're doing is not up to a satisfactory level, and so you get kicked out of university. That would be another way of saying they kicked me out or I dropped out. So both of those phrasal verbs are for when you leave university early, before you get your qualification, before you get your degree. Now, if you memorize something, you learn it off by heart. I think we often say off by heart, but sometimes we just say learn it by heart. And hopefully then you know it by heart, or you know it off by heart. So we've got this learn off by heart and know off by heart, meaning know something thoroughly, completely. An essay is a small piece of written work, less than 5,000 words, let's say, roughly. A dissertation would be between 5,000 and 15,000. You usually do it at the end of your bachelor's degree, of your bachelor course. And then you get your degree if it's a good dissertation. And your thesis is much more higher level. It's a postgraduate thesis, usually a doctorate, when you're studying for a doctorate. Now, you have to submit your written work, or you have to hand it in, less formal, the phrasal verb, and you have to hand it in before the deadline. So the deadline for submissions might be the 1st of August. You might write a first draft, first of all, which is the first plan. You draw up a plan of the essay, and then when you've done the first draft, you write it up, which means get it all written in the proper version, so that your professor can correct your mistakes and give you a mark. He can assess your written work. Now then, you might, at the end of university, you might gain a qualification. You might get a certificate or a diploma or a degree, which is the most common word for at the end of university. You might get a bachelor's degree after 3 years. You might get a master's degree after 4 years. Or you might get a PhD, a doctorate, a postgraduate degree after a long, long time. Now, you need to do research or carry out research or conduct research if you're doing a postgraduate course. You'll need to analyse data perhaps, or if you're a scientist, a chemist for example, you might analyse a sample in order to understand what's in that sample. Perhaps you'll use some spectroscopy or something like that. You might look in academic journals first of all in order to see what other people have said about it, or if they've done the work before you. Okay, I've only got 5 minutes. You might decide to publish papers or articles. You might be testing a theory and the evidence might not convince you, so you might reject the theory, or the evidence might back up the theory. It might support the theory. Remember that back up means support. But you might just be developing different aspects of the theory. We have different types of education. You have selective education, which means education where you go to the school only if you pass the exam first. But we also have comprehensive education, which is education for everybody. You don't have to pass an exam first. So the grammar schools are selective. We call them grammar schools, but it just means you have to pass an exam. And the comprehensive schools are there for everybody. Now, we talk about a literacy rate, which means the amount of people who can read, usually. You can also talk about computer literacy, the amount of people who can use a computer. We have numeracy as obviously number skills, mathematical skills, which may include arithmetic. We learn addition, subtraction, multiplication and division at school, and arithmetic is being able to use these. Very often it means in your head. If you procrastinate, which a lot of students and pupils do, it means that you put off doing your homework, you delay it. It's a negative word, which means that you're being a bit lazy. Now, if you're in my classes, you're learning at a distance, you're not in the same class as me, so we call it distance learning or remote learning. Think about a remote control, you're far away, and remote learning or distance learning. Different types of schools. You've got play schools, which are also called nursery schools. The next step would be infant, junior or primary school, which is basically from about 6 till 11. This is before 6, let's say 4 or 5. Then you've got senior or secondary school, which is 11 to 18. And then you've got higher education and university college, which is 18 to 21 at least, maybe longer. Top marks would be 10 out of 10, not 9 out of 10. Good grades would be an A or a B, and you can sail through exams, you can scrape through exams. You can take an exam, do an exam, sit an exam, not write an exam, not in England anyway, but somebody told me it's possible in Canada. You can pass with flying colours, which means you sail through your exams. They were easy. If you scrape through them, you just get through with the passing on the borderline, perhaps, a borderline pass, which means only just a pass. And of course you can pass an exam which is good or fail an exam which is bad. If you fail your exams, maybe you skipped classes, maybe you missed lessons, maybe you bunked off. Bunk off means skip classes or miss lessons. But hopefully if you pass the exam, it means you were a conscientious student, you were industrious, you were diligent, and of course I'm sure all of you lot are. Now please give the video a like if you've enjoyed this. I have to go because Alex is waiting for me. I'll see everybody later. Thanks for watching.